Nick?
Adam, a big theme, excuse me, in spring ball and then again during the fall is that you guys have to get better at stopping the run. What do you see coming into this season where you're making progress on that?
Definitely. That was a big issue for us last year. I believe Coach Yelk has changed a few calls to stop the run game. Corners are getting a lot more into the run. We switched up a little linebacker movements and our D-line movements, so to help out in that run.
Yep.
John, Sato last year, did you see some things? I mean, was it a little bit different? Did you come into this year where it wasn't a wasted year, that you got a chance to maybe see some things on the sidelines that you wouldn't have seen if you were right in the thick of it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's always a different vantage point watching it from over there. But it was also really good just to get to learn the scheme more. Get a year in the scheme, just kind of like our entire team has since our new staff has come in, and it was really great just to be able to watch that film, watch that game film, practice film, and truly just learn off that with what the other guys were doing.
And kind of the same question as Adam, as far as shoring up the run defense, what are some things that you have to do to make that happen?
Yeah, I mean, I think as linebackers, now that we get more confident in our scheme, we just got to pull our trigger faster. Now that we are confident, next thing we see, last year we'd see it, and sometimes we'd be a little hesitating, thinking, is this the right thing to do? Now that we know for sure that's the right thing to do, we see it, now we just got to go.
Sure. Adam, kind of based on Mick's question, how much of the confidence that John talked about is just having another year, having a full year in the scheme?
Definitely. I mean, a lot of confidence. It comes in fall camp. You build a lot of your confidence in fall camp, and it carries over to the season. Confidence is a key in this game today, and once you see it, you just need to go. And like John said, pulling our triggers was a big thing last year. Once we see it, we just got to pull it and trust it.
Adam, there's a lot of talk about the offense with all the experience returning, and the defense is going to have a lot of young guys, it sounds like. How much does that fall on you as being a leader to, kind of get the defense together this year?
I have to play with a chip on my shoulder knowing that, being an older guy in defense, but, you got to set an example for those younger guys. You got to show them what it takes to, come out and compete every single play and not to take a play off, and that they have to follow that, and it goes into each game in and out.
John, last year the offense was able to put up a lot of points, second in the conference. Defense gave up second most points in the conference. How much pressure do you guys put on yourself as a unit to get stops and get the ball back to the offense so that they can keep putting points up on the board?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our offense is potent, like they showed last year. When they get the ball, they can score fast. And like you said, we take that on ourselves to get them the ball back as quick as they can and get ourselves off the field. And yeah, that's going to be huge for us this year, just to play with each other and play off of each other as an offense and defense. If they happen to go out and get stopped, we got to go out and get a stop right away and get them the ball back so they can get another shot, so they can go do what they do, and that's put up points.
Speaking of that, now second year under Coach Nielsen, so how much of a factor do you think being comfortable in the scheme and the system will help you guys kind of flip the script from last year?
Yeah, I think that's huge. Like Adam said, just that confidence that we get to go out there and to have that 100% assurance of knowing what we're doing, instead of just maybe sometimes being a 75-80% thing where it's kind of like you're half a step slow. In this game, half a step is everything. So we can go out there, we can gain that half a step now, I think, and we can make some big plays.
Adam, a ton of close games last year. Is that something that, do you move completely away from that as the next year shows up, or do the guys still think about how many close games there were last year and how close you were to having a playoff type season?
You think about it, but you got to live on, and you got to go to the next play. They always say you got to go to the next play. You got to go to the next season. You can't dwell on last season. We have to come out and go stronger than last season. We have to learn from our mistakes, and we have to go harder next season and learn how to finish games.
Sorry.
John, I think the same thing could have been said in the last 4 years. You've had a lot of close calls, play here, play there. You're maybe a 6-7 win team talking about playoffs. What does it take to? We kind of keep asking this question every year. What does it take? What's it going to take to get over that hump, and maybe what's the difference this season?
Yeah, I think kind of talking about that. I think we're closer as a team than we ever have been before this year. You know, truly having that brotherhood and truly having that 100% trust. You know, we had that last year for the most part, but it can't be for the most part. It has to be an every day, every down thing. You know, and kind of like Adam was saying, just that confidence, again, is still just so huge that we can go out there in big play, big situations, know that our brothers to our left and right have our back. We can go out there and make a play.
Anything else for these two? Okay. Thanks, guys.
Squeezing real tight here, boys.
Yeah. All right, now at the table we have senior quarterback Chris Strevler, senior left guard Stetson Daigle, and senior wide receiver Brant Van Ruckel. Chris is the 2016 Missouri Valley Newcomer of the Year and an all-conference quarterback. He counted for 31 touchdowns last season, including 22 passing and 9 rushing. He finished as the Valley's 4th leading rusher and 6th leading passer. Stetson has started 16 games on the line, including all 11 last season. He has played in 28 games during the last 3 years. He set the foundation for an offense that averaged 30 points per game a year ago. Brant enters his senior year 17 yards shy of 1,000 career receiving yards. He led Coyote receivers in yards per game a year ago. In 27 games, Brant has 61 receptions for 983 yards and 9 touchdowns. Questions for our offensive captains? Barry?
Chris, how excited are you this year? You know, it's a year into the system under the belt, and you know, probably more comfortable this year. How excited are you to get things going with this thing?
Yeah, I mean, as a team, we're really excited. You know, the strides that we took in spring ball, just even from the end of last season, were huge. And I think we were all really pleased with where we ended up there. And then, you know, with the work that we were able to put in on our own this summer, really propelled us forward into camp, especially these first couple practices, being able to just pick up exactly where we left off. And, you know, I think I speak for the whole offensive unit when I say how excited we are to be able to get out there and show the things we've been working on September 2nd.
Chris, what do you see as the biggest factors involved in leading a unit where you do lock games down in the fourth quarter, where the suspense that might have been there last year, that there's more games where there isn't that suspense? What are some things you got to do to accomplish that?
To just finish games, is that what you're asking? You know, I mean, I think it starts in practice. You know, practices can be long and hard, but if you practice how you play at the end of the day. And, you know, if you finish practice strong, you know, a lot of times we'll have team periods spread out throughout practice. So, you know, start out with one, do some indie. End of practice, we have team periods. We got to finish those periods strong, offensively and defensively. And then, you know, just staying on the intensity. You know, I think sometimes as a team, maybe we weren't used to having sizable leads last year, and maybe we take our foot off the gas a little bit. And just having that mentality this year to, you know, when you get up, to stay up and push down even harder on the gas pedal and continue to keep pushing.
Brandon, in Coach's second year now, what do you think his focus going into year 2 and maybe his message has been to you guys on the offensive side? If it was kind of one thing that you would hammer down, what's the point that he's trying to get across to you guys?
You know, the point he's really trying to get across to us is overall togetherness. You know, everyone's got to buy in that, you know, the guy next to him is going to do their job every single play. And then just the little things, you know, we were so close last year. You know, you hate to bring it up, but just Coach has really been, you know, putting in our heads that if we do the little things right, then the wins are going to take care of themselves.
Stetson, could you talk a little bit about the progress of the offensive line? You got you and 2 other guys who played a lot of football last year starting. How is that progress? Is there progress there? Do you see capacity to improve this year?
Yeah, definitely. I think it all started with the weight room this offseason. A bunch of guys PR'd in all their lifts, and we got a lot stronger, and just another season with this our plays and everything we've been running, helps us get a little bit under your belt. And
Yep.
Chris, last year coming in, you had, Ryan was the returning starter, so there's a lot of competition. Coming in this year, senior captain, started every game last year, so, what's going to be the biggest challenge for you to kind of improve on last year now that you've had, a full year under the system?
Yeah, I think, kind of going back to what I said earlier, is just the stuff we did in the summer and just timing and having another year in this system. I mean, it's huge. We're running the same plays, Last year, personally, when I came in the summer, it was kind of scrambling to get caught up before camp got rolling there. And having a whole entire offseason under my belt personally to work with all the receivers and be with the offensive line and just build that togetherness that Brant was speaking about. I think it's just huge and is going to be great for us taking a step forward.
Speaking of all the receivers, that's got to be a nice feeling to have so many different guys for you to, targets to have.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is. That's probably one of our deepest positions on the team, and we had 3 true freshmen that were playing last year, and all those guys have been putting in tremendous work this offseason, and I think it's definitely shown up early in camp here. I know the coaches seem to be pretty pleased about where we're at right now, receiving wise, and you can kind of speak more to that group as a whole.
Yeah, Brand, go ahead and just talk a little bit about your depth and position.
Yeah, last year we came in, at the beginning of the year, and that was one of our, question marks kind of as a position group as a whole. But this year, we got a lot of guys who have played, a lot of in-game experience, and then we have a lot of young guys who are also, stepping up, competing, and fighting for playing time as well. So it's a ultra competitive group, and it's just really bringing out the best in all the guys.
You guys talk about brotherhood and togetherness and facing adversity. How are you guys in each practice and going into your season? How are you guys going to implement those values into each practice and each game you play?
You want me to take it?
That's all you.
You want to do it?
Got it.
I think it's just, in every single practice, every single day, there's going to be ups and downs. And I think it's just picking each other back up, not every play is going to be perfect. And sometimes, I hate to admit it, but the defense is going to make a good play in practice. And, so things are going to happen. You got to be there for your teammates, pick them back up. And, I know no matter what happens, maybe I'll make a mistake. Stetson, Branch are going to be there to pick me up. If somehow he drops a ball or something, I'll be there to pick him up. It's just a team. We're all together. We're all fighting out there together. And I think that's really just the biggest thing to implement in practice is there's going to be ups and downs in practice just like there are in games, and you just have to continue to move forward.
Chris, year 2, but for you, last year, first year in the Valley, kind of getting a sense of the conference. What stood out to you, and how does that translate this year?
Yeah, everyone knows the competition in the Valley is intense, and there's no, you look at your schedule, and I think last year we had one of the toughest schedules in the country, and I don't think it's any different this year. But every single week, you have to bring your A game to have a chance to win. There's not a single bad team in the Valley, and I'm sure that, there's some other teams who maybe were in similar positions to us this year that feel like they were maybe 2 plays away from making the playoffs, just like we feel like we were. And so every single week, you're getting a team's A game, and if you're not on your A game, you're not going to win. That's just the way it is. And so there's a certain level of intensity you have to bring every single week, and it's important.
Elliot.
Stetson, you've been through the ups and downs, and Riley talked about it after practice about the lows that this team has experienced, and now kind of trying to build on the highs. Why is 2017 going to be the year for USD? Why is now the time compared to last year or a year before or whatever it may be?
Definitely. Like you said, in the past there have been some lows, but this program's headed in the right direction. And last year we kind of got a taste of it, and we were so close. Hate to bring it up, like Brant said, but we're really looking to get over that hump and put our foot on their throats and finish games that we didn't quite finish last year.
Chris, to kind of jump on that question, how do you define success for this team? Is it getting better each practice, getting better each rep? Is it winning the conference? What is success for you, and what is success for USD football?
Kind of like you said, every single day in order to reach our ultimate goals, within the conference. And, they don't just stop at the conference. Every team has high goals going into every season. And that's something that we kind of keep within the team, but they're high goals and high expectations, but we come with a day in, day out mentality. I mean, we get done with practice, we're breaking it down, we say, all right, had a good practice, now we got to go lift at 3 and get better there. Because if we're not getting better every single thing we're doing, then we're not going to be able to put ourselves in that position that we want to be in. And I think that's something to kind of touch on your question you just asked, is that is the reason why this could be the year for us, because we realize that, we're not projected to finish high, and we realize that, but we have a really good group, and to do that we have to get better. Every single thing we do is very important, and we need to take those steps because other teams are doing them too. So we have to go that much harder to get on level with them and beat them.
You can do the logistics, you can practice hard, you can play hard, you can motivate each other, but is this team really truly buying into the system with the coaching staff?
Yeah, I'm absolutely. I think anyone who comes and is around any of the guys, any of the coaches, any of the staff can just realize, that we all have that chip on our shoulder. We all 100% trust in the system and the coaches and everything, in the culture of the team. So yeah, I think that anyone coming around can tell that everyone's bought in to the system.
Stetson, being that you played, started under, Coach Glenn, now Coach Nielsen, what's the biggest challenge as an offensive lineman with that up-tempo offense?
I would say just first off, just getting in shape, and we went through that last year, and we had a lot of guys on the offensive line who were lighter than they'd like to be, and that's why this offseason was such an emphasis, getting stronger and keeping that weight on and staying in shape. So, we can still move, but also move people.
And kind of piggyback off of that, Trevor's now gone, Michael's kind of returning back. He's a little different style of runners. Does the blocking scheme change, with a quicker back like that coming out there?
No, we're just playing how we play, and I'm not really sure what's going on in the backfield, but I know they're going to run hard and we're going to block hard for them.
Stetson, I kind of heard it going around that guys are kind of saying you can sense a different attitude. Players are, the attitude now compared to what some of the guys had 4 years ago, 3 years ago is completely different. What, other than just the fact you changed coaches and this and that and different personnel, what do you think's been the biggest change attitude-wise that you've seen over 4 years?
I think, like these guys said, we've all bought in. We know how good we can be, and we've proved it at some points last year. But we just really want to carry that into every single game and, finish the games that we need to.
Yeah.
Brant, is there some, confidence to be taken from the fact that last year you had so many games that had difficult circumstances, and yet you look at the scores of the games every week, you came back and were motivated enough to either win a game or to keep it very close against some good teams. Just the idea that was out there, that was a part of the season, does that maybe help you this year, knowing that you got the capacity to deal with that kind of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Having those close scores, obviously, kind of reiterates what we all believe. We believe that, we should, win every game. If we execute as well as we can, we believe that we're going to win every game we play. Why would you play otherwise? So, yeah, coming into this season, we definitely, think that if we just come into every game and execute, then we're going to have a great chance to win.
Anything else?
Stetson, do you miss that cut on the bridge of your nose?
I do not, no. We're going to make sure the helmet fits right this year.
Don't even recognize you without the blood on that face.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bob is a 3-time National Coach of the Year recipient, a 2-time National Champion head coach, and was the 2016 Missouri Valley Football Conference Coach of the Year. This is his 25th season as a head coach. He enters 2017 with 190 career wins and a win percentage of .685. We will begin with opening comments.
25th year. 25th year as a head coach, and all 25 really, really different. The analogy, I was thinking about that the other day, and the analogy, my dad farmed for 60 years, he's in his 80s now. He did the same thing. Planted, stuff grew, and then harvested at the end. And I will say this, I think this spring we planted better. Our guys had, a great off season in January and February. Spring practice was vastly different. We were not just teaching stuff for the first time. We were able to advance and move forward in a lot of areas. Summer provided our guys great opportunity to grow. We had over 90% of our roster that was here for the entire summer, which they as a group, again, continue to grow in strength and conditioning, and I think became closer as a football team, and you heard some of those comments from those guys, and now the bottom line is we're in fall camp, and we're got to get ready for the harvest, which starts on September 2nd. And guys are working hard, excited. We've got some strengths and weaknesses like every football team does. And over the course of the next, whatever we have left, 23 practices, the goal is going to be to maximize those strengths and minimize the areas where we're not as strong. And it's a great group to work with. I've got a great staff that we all have the same goal, and that's we're going to improve every day. We're going to be the best football team we can be September 2nd, and we're going to be even better the next week. And got guys that truly believe that we can accomplish a lot together. I think we're a team that's going to be improved in all areas. You look at the strength of our team. Certainly, we return, however you want to count them, 8-9 offensive starters. Starting first with a quarterback that made a lot of plays in the Valley and created offense. And when you have players like that at that position, it bodes well. If you don't have a good quarterback in this league, it's going to be a long year. And not only with Chris, but we feel like we've got tremendous depth at that position. There aren't many teams that can say that they've got two quarterbacks on their roster that have won games in the Valley. And we have that with Chris and Austin Simmons. The offensive line, which was a work in progress for us, we've got 3 starters back that I think combined probably have somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 starts. And that group is a much more physical group than they were a year ago. A couple of other guys that have been great additions to that group, Cody Jennings, who had transferred in a semester from Garden City Junior College, where he won a national championship, would be one of the guys that would be right now leading the way for one of those other starting positions besides Nick Jensen and Stetson Daigle and Tanner Anderson that all returned off the offensive line last year. Tight ends, really another really deep position. You've got 2 seniors there that are very good players, Aaron Ramsey and Josh Hale. A couple of freshmen there that you're going to see on the field as well, a redshirt freshman in Connor Herman and Brett Sampson. So we feel like we've got great depth there. You already talked with Brant a little bit about our wide receiver core. To have the number of guys that we have there that have caught passes and gives us the ability to do a lot of different things formationally. And when you're playing a tempo offense, always keep fresh wide receivers on the field. You look at guys like Brant and Riley Donovan and Alonjay Brooks that are seniors, and then a younger guy like Dakari Allen, and then the slot receivers, Shamar Jackson, who had a lot of big plays for us last year, and then 2 true freshmen that now are a year older, and Tristan Ducker and Randy Baker. Running back, Mike Fredericks had a great offseason. I'm excited to see him when we get going here on the second. He's running the ball well. He's a little heavier, a lot stronger. But you're going to see other backs in the game as well. Two guys that we're impressed with in the spring that are having great camps are Ben Klett and Ethan Falanico, who are bigger backs. They're both in the 230-pound range. So they're going to give us a nice combination of personnel there, and feel good about where we're at there, even though we lost a really good football player in Trevor Bama. On the defensive side of the football, we got to be a better team against the run. So we did. We've changed our scheme just a little bit. We're doing some additional things that we think can help us be better against the run. If you can't stop teams from running the football, you're not going to compete for a championship in this league, and so we've got to be better at that. Been a point of emphasis for us in the spring, and continues to be as we move forward in camp. And that starts with your front seven. With the linebacker group, having John Wessel back, John's a little bit more than just a good football player. He's really a quarterback for us on defense, and we missed him a lot last year when he got hurt. Forced us to kind of move some guys around and never really got that linebacker core settled. But with him as a senior and Jim LaTrenta, who started every game for us last year, another senior, we got a nice start to that position group. And you'll probably see a lot of guys play there. We've got Alex Gray and Alex Coker that played a lot last year that you're going to see on the field. And there's a couple other new guys there. We do have a graduate transfer, Ray Dixon, who transferred from the University of Minnesota. I think you're going to see him on the field some as well as part of the rotation. And there's a couple of the other younger guys that we redshirted last year that are coming along nicely as well. The defensive line, where we did have some seniors last year, feel good about how that group has developed. Taylor Lambert's one of those guys that made a lot of big plays for us last year and is really undersized for this level of college football, but tremendously strong, and a guy that you're going to see on the field a lot. And a guy that's very disruptive when we move him around, and that's what we'll do with him. Jake Lair, who played inside at defensive tackle 2 years ago. We moved him out to defensive end last year. We're moving him back inside. That gives us another really athletic player at defensive tackle. Our two defensive ends, I think, are as good as anybody in the leagues. With Darren Greenfield and Cameron Klein, who played as a true freshman last year, which you don't see that much in the Missouri Valley when you're playing, true freshmen of the defensive line. But and then we've got some depth there with Nick Kramer, redshirt freshman, and Spencer Hopkins from up in Sioux Falls. Guys that I think will also get on the field. And then inside at that defensive tackle position, you're going to see some other guys there too. We've got some pretty good depth, including a couple of true freshmen that have looked very good at the start of camp. That was a recruiting priority for us, and we felt like we got the right guys in this recruiting class. And in the secondary, it's a great place to start when you got two really good corners like Adam Harris and Danny Rambo. And, another position where I think we are legitimately as good as anybody else in the league. At safety, we've got a group of about 4 or 5 guys right now that are really highly competitive, and I think that's going to sort out by the end of camp, but position that gives us a lot of flexibility to play at certain situations against certain teams with a third safety in the game, to play some nickel coverage stuff because of how deep we are at those positions. I know you're all going to ask me about kicking games, so I might as well address it right now. You lose a guy like Miles Bergner that became not only a tremendously consistent kicker, but obviously the best punter in the country. That's a lot of void to fill, and you know, we're still evaluating, you know, where we're at there. Punting, you know, we've got a Brady Shutt, who we redshirted last year from Orange City, Iowa. He's punting the ball very well, a lot more confident as a redshirt freshman than he was as a freshman. And obviously with Miles, we knew he wasn't going to have to punt last year. And then Brian Clements from California, who is a guy that's got a really live leg, and you know, one of those two guys is going to end up winning the job. We've got 3 guys that are competing at the kicker spot, including Ryan Weiss, graduate transfer from the University of Kansas, along with Ethan James from here in Vermillion, and then Dominic Long, who's an incoming freshman from Gothenburg, Nebraska. And so, you know, through the course of you know, the next 3 weeks, you know, we'll sort that out, and I think we've got enough people. It's just which ones are going to step forward and be ready to go when the bullets are flying on September 2nd. So from that standpoint, I'll end my comments, open it up for questions that you might have.
Thanks, Coach. Okay, that's all.
I'm not going to ask you about the kicking.
Thanks, Meg. I'd give you the same answer.
Is there any, can I harp on this a little bit, but any conscious effort on the part of the coaching staff to take the week-by-week odd circumstances you had to deal with last year, and make sure that you move on from that this year? Because it did seem like such an odd year with so many close games, even more than most people are used to, even football.
Yeah, you know, let me answer that in 2 ways. Number one, you know, we're basically at the end of 1 week of preseason or thereabouts. We've already done more situational work in practice than we probably did all of last preseason. And part of that is we're not teaching everything from scratch. And so it gives you the opportunity to, you know, to rehearse some unique situations. You know, I think, you know, I look back at you know, where we ended up, and everybody wants to talk about all the close games, and I read something, Bobby Bowden talked about program development, and there's a thing, and he talks about, you know, one of the stages of program development is losing close. Well, you know, we won a few of those. Obviously, we lost too many of those last year. Well, we've got to now get over the hump to the next stage, which is winning close. And to do that, it's all about confidence. I think another year of being together helps build that sense of confidence within your teammates. And, you know, from a coaching staff standpoint, you know, honestly, there are times when we were still kind of evaluating what we could do a little bit last year. And I know as a staff we've got a much better handle on that, and I think our guys have much more confidence in each other.
Imagine you want to get to the point where you're not talking about the close games you could have won. I mean, you want to just
talk about the close games we won. Yeah. And we had a few of those last year that were fun to be a part of, and I think those are the things that also build confidence, and that our guys know, hey, you know, just like we lost a couple we'd like to have back, I'm sure some of those teams we've beaten, close ones, are saying they'd like to have those back too. And so it's the way football in this league is. I mean, you got to be, and that's what makes it a really great league, because every week you're going to play another outstanding opponent, and there's nobody in this league that's going backwards. You know, everybody's always moving forward, and so the challenge of winning games in the Valley is huge, and that's what makes each win one that you celebrate.
Zach.
Kind of playing off that, I mean, not only last year, but Joe's last season, and I think 2013, there were a lot of those type of games where you're saying you're close, you're one play away. Is it tougher to get over that hump when you've got guys who maybe have been through this for several years and for just whatever reason haven't been able to?
Yeah. You know what's funny about that is I just counted today. We have over 70% of our roster that are guys that weren't here 2 years ago. So you talk about we're really a young football team is what that means, and so getting the attitude or changed, if there was any of that gee, it's a close game, we're going to find a way to lose it. I don't get a sense of that at all with this team. I mean, this team is full speed ahead, moving forward. We don't even talk much about last year, honestly, other than the fact that we know we've got to be better.
Sean.
Yeah, players, both sides of the ball, one thing, common theme seem to be confidence and, comfortability in the system and the schemes. Just looking back from last game last season now through spring ball and entering fall camp here, what's the biggest difference you've noticed?
Well, we're further ahead. As I said, we're so much further ahead right now in camp than we were at the end of camp last year, and that's due to the fact that we were able to do things in the spring that weren't just teaching terminology and basic system kinds of things. And I think the other thing is, I go back to, you have to, at every level of college football, there's things that you want to do from a coaching standpoint, but you also have to make sure that those things fit what your personnel can do really well. And that's probably the biggest thing that we've done as a coaching staff over the course from last year to this year is we've looked at some things and we say, hey, we need to put a bigger emphasis on this because we think our personnel and what they can do best fits doing these things. And so you're not going to notice a big difference, but subtly there's some things that we're doing differently, both offensively and defensively, that we think are going to help us be a better team.
Owen.
You mentioned earlier that every year of your career kind of presents something different. So from what you've seen so far, how does year 25 differ from the previous 24?
Well, it's the first time we've ever started preseason camp in July. It's the first time I've ever had preseason camp with no two-a-day practices. So there's some things that just from a logistical standpoint are way different. It's caused us to coach a little differently with the fact that like tomorrow we've got a day off. And not that we never had days off, but you have more structured days off. You've got more time from the start of when you can practice to first game because of the no two-a-days and days off that allow you to coach differently, doing more with video. Even though it seems like we do a lot, we're doing more with video, and I think it helps us find better ways for guys to learn. And so it's been an education for all of us, coaching staff-wise, with some of these changes that are going to be a part of college football from now, I think, into eternity.
Elliot.
Coach, at Waverly, at Western Illinois, you've helped rebuild programs and turn them into playoff teams or contenders. Kind of doing the same now at USD and helping turn the program back around. What are some of the parallels you see between your previous stops and here, and why do you feel like now it is the time for USD, having been through similar experiences?
Yeah, I mean, all those situations are different. Coach Glenn did a great job here of getting a foundation under this program as a Division I program, and so we've tried to take that with the understanding that we've got to continue to recruit well. Focus on making sure that we're getting the right kinds of student athletes coming into the program, and just trying to build the sense of confidence that, hey, first of all, we got to believe that we can achieve great things, or we're not, and then we got to continue to emphasize that we just got to work hard. And in this league, if you're not doing the extra repetitions or doing a little bit extra, you're getting passed by because somebody else in the league is. And so we want to have a mentality that we're going to work we're going to work harder and believe in each other, and we've made a lot of progress in that. And so now it's time to start putting that into performance on the field.
Yeah, Zach.
Does it help? Obviously, I guess it helps having the experience now with your team, but most of your first month you spend out on the road. Is that a difficult thing, or is that going to be a little easier now with the fact these guys have experience under you? That
Yeah.
maybe a year ago, I can see that maybe being a bigger challenge.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be great to have a home opener. Be great to have the second week a game at home. But, one thing you have to do in the league is you got to play well on the road. And so to start out on the road 2 weeks gives us an opportunity to get some of that, prepare for conference road games. Drake's got a very good football team, and Bowling Green is a team that really came on at the end of the year and was playing some of the best football in the MAC at the end of the year, and so we'll have 2 quality opponents on the road to gauge yourself. There's some advantage when you go on the road. There's not a lot of distraction. Sometimes with home games and all the hoopla that come along with home games. So for a young team, it's not bad to play on the road, first couple, and then, a very good opponent coming in here in the University of North Dakota, who, most people I think have picked to either win the Big Sky or be one of the top 2 in the Big Sky. So, game is obviously going to mean a lot.
Maybe 1 or 2 more. Is there any more? Okay. Thanks, Coach.
You bet. Thank you. Appreciate you all coming.
We will move down to the turf.